For the 7th episode of Player Picks, we have Patrick Cripps. So 523k this year. That's unders for what he can do. And for me, this is the most polarizing pick of 2021 thus far. You have some people saying it's Cripps, he's a superstar, he's a lock. He was injured last year. He played injured in 2020. And on the other hand, you have people saying, well, the back half of 2019 was poor from him, and 2020 was really poor. We paid a lot for him, 97 average. I'm not starting Patrick Cripps in my team, no way. So which camp am I in? I'm not too sure. I'll say a bit more at the end of the video after we do the risk assessment. But nonetheless, averaged 120 twice, or almost 120 twice in 2017 and in 2018 and 2019 rather. The 2019 he reached 700k. About a third of the way through the year, and then halfway through the season just dropped off. So it was looking like a really bad miss if you didn't start him, but it was a little bit more forgiving later on in the season. Just the 97 average in 2020, and actually we'll call it 102. The last game we won't count because he was in a lot of pain that game with the shoulder. He was pretty much a vegetable, couldn't do anything. So we'll say 102. And looking at the stats, looking at him play, it just felt like he was going missing at times, and just score wasn't ticking along. And looking at the stats, the comparisons in FootyWire, it's not even his tackles that have gone down or anything like that. It's just the disposal count. So he's not getting his hands on the ball enough as much as he used to. So it makes me wonder, has he just declined or was he playing injured? I think a big part of it was injury, because he seemed to have that shoulder throughout the year. He was holding it a fair bit throughout the season. Just saw him grimacing on the bench at times. So, to still be, I think he was the number one centre clearance player still. I think Clayton Oliver was number one for clearances, but centre clearance, I think, was Patrick Cripps number one. Playing injured, that's really impressive. So, very interesting pick. So what's changed for Patrick Cripps? So there's a few things that have kind of turned my head, if that makes sense, when looking at the Patrick Cripps pick. So, we need to find out, is he going to get back to his best in 2020? And this is what I've come up with. This is what I've researched. So 2020 rather, he trimmed down his weight. And from articles I've read, it hasn't worked. He's putting that weight back on. Or he already has put some of that weight back on. Because at the weight that he played his best football in. So that's a good sign. The other thing was Brent Stanton. I assume he's a Carlton midfield coach. There was an interview in the West Australian, and Stanton says the competition needs to watch out because Patrick Cripps can be at his best in 2021, or back to his best. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go, because I was kind of waiting for that sort of article to come out, in terms of I want to hear that he's going to get back to his best. And the fact that he said that means that, Cripps probably believes it as well. So, so it sounds like there's good signs at training. That's what I'm kind of trying to say. So, with Cripps though, he's 530k. We don't really need him to go 120 average, although that would be great, 115 plus. For his price, you take 108 average, and that doesn't seem beyond him really. So, seems to play sore throughout the year, which is very frustrating. That's probably my main concern. But nonetheless, we'll get into the risk assessment. This one. So Patrick Cripps. So as you can see, a fair bit of green here, one red. That's the main concern we'll get into. But he's in his prime. Friendly, probably the most Supercoach friendly role going around. Just tons of CBAs and inside mid. So none of the green stuff we'll go over, because that just means tick, no worries. So this is the main one here. Has this player had an interrupted preseason? So Patrick Cripps has had a shoulder reconstruction late in 2020, and I believe he's doing most of the things at training, not absolutely everything, but Brett Stanton today in the West Australian said he's ahead of schedule, so that's a good sign. But nonetheless, you never really like to see a player have an interrupted preseason, especially in the midfield. It's just because he's a bit cheaper, it makes the pick a bit more interesting. But yeah, this isn't great. It might mean he starts a bit slower, I assume, because you've got less of a... I suppose you can do all your fitness stuff when you've done a shoulder. I think, I'm not sure. I just assume you can. But yeah, some of his work in the preseason, is that gonna... The lesser loads that he's done, is that going to affect him round one? Maybe a little bit, but he'll get better as the season goes on, I'd imagine. And is this player considered injury prone, especially with soft tissue injuries? So it's not so much the soft tissue injuries with Cripps, it's more the taxing game style where it's a lot of contact, head over the ball, taking hits all the time, distributing the ball to the, outside mids, wherever that works, to the other, what are they called? I think receivers. I'm not sure what the proper term is. But yeah, so yeah, he had the foot injury in 2020, foot injury in 2019, and the shoulder injury in 2020. So, and yeah, it just seems, like I said before, it seems like he plays sore sometimes. And the back half of 2019 is a really big concern because, is he going to play really well in the first half of the year, even though he's had an interrupted preseason? Is his body going to start feeling the effects of his taxing game style? 2019 says that that's a yes, but I'm not exactly sure. He still averaged really well, so it's a tough one. And this player likely to receive multiple tags? Yes, but it's a bit of a balance. Has really good games, and occasionally drops the shocker with being tagged. So Patrick Cripps, will I pick Cripps? 30% yes, 70% no at this stage. Before I read the article today, hyping him up, I was more of a no, but now, yeah, I think I need to be swayed a bit more. I need to see him in the preseason. But yeah, this is the main thing. I don't like selecting players with interrupted preseasons. You always need to look at the context of it. And shoulders, yeah, I'm not too sure if the shoulder's going to feel 100% or not. So it's a really tough call. He's a good price, and I think you only really need him to go 108 plus for him to be a success. That's just the estimate. So he's still a maybe at this stage, but yeah, definitely an interesting pick, and hopefully him putting on a bit more weight helps him get back to his best.